Your coworker just bought a house. You know the one. He won't stop talking about it in the break room, trapping you by the coffee machine to show you photos on his phone. The granite countertops that sparkle under the recessed lighting, the fenced-in backyard for the golden retriever he doesn't have yet. The equity he claims he is building with every single payment. He uses the word investment with this smug, pitying tone when he looks at you, as if renting an apartment is some sort of moral failing, a sign of prolonged adolescence, or a failure to launch. And you smile, you nod, you congratulate him. You bring a bottle of expensive wine to the housewarming party and admire the crown molding while trying to suppress the jealousy bubbling in your gut. But inside you feel small, you feel behind. You think, why haven't I done this yet? What is wrong with me? Everyone says renting is throwing money away. Everyone says owning is the only way to build wealth. I am failing at the game of life. Here is the truth that your coworker doesn't know yet, and frankly, it's the truth that might save your financial life if you have the courage to listen. He didn't just buy a house. He didn't just make a savvy investment in his future. He just signed a 30-year contract for poverty. He just locked himself into a financial prison cell with granite countertops, and the craziest part is that he is celebrating it. He thinks he won the game, but he actually just voluntarily walked into a trap that is going to bleed him dry for the next 3 decades. Limit his career options, keep his liquid net worth at 0 until he is an old man, and force him to work jobs he hates just to keep the lights on. Let's be brutally, uncomfortably honest about the American dream of home ownership. It is less of a dream and more of a highly coordinated, trillion-dollar marketing campaign designed to keep you broke, immobile, and subservient to the banking system. We need to do the actual math, not the fantasy math they show you on HGTV, not the napkin math your uncle uses at Thanksgiving, and not the sales math the realtor used to close the deal. We need to look at the unrecoverable costs of ownership versus renting. And once you see these numbers, once you see the shadow costs that nobody puts in the brochure, you will never look at a for sale sign the same way again. Let's start with the biggest lie in personal finance, the one that your parents, your friends, and every real estate agent repeats like a religious mantra. Rent is throwing money away. The logic seems simple enough, almost irrefutable. When you rent, you pay $2,000 a month to a landlord and get nothing back. You are paying his mortgage. When you own, you pay the mortgage and you build equity. Therefore, owning is always better because you are paying yourself. That sounds logical. It feels intuitive. It is also completely, mathematically, and catastrophically wrong. Let's run the numbers on a standard American scenario to see where the money actually goes. Say you buy a $400,000 house. You put down 20%. That's $80,000 cash that is now gone from your bank account. That is $80,000 that is no longer earning you interest, no longer buying you stocks, no longer compounding. It is buried in the dirt. You finance the remaining $320,000 at a 7% interest rate for 30 years. Your monthly mortgage payment, just the principal and interest, is about $2,130. Everyone stops the math right there. They look at Zillow, they see the estimated payment, and they stop thinking. They compare that $2,130 to rent. If rent for a similar house is $2,000, they think, oh, it's only $130 more to own. That's a steal. I'd be crazy not to buy. This is how financial suicide happens. Because that mortgage payment is not the cost of the house. That is the cost of the loan. That is just the entry fee to the club of homeownership. Now, you have to add the unrecoverable costs. These are costs that, just like rent, are money you burn and never see again. They do not build equity. They do not come back to you when you sell. First, you have property taxes. On a $400,000 house, let's conservatively say That's $5,000 a year. That's $417 a month, gone. Paid to the government for the privilege of sitting on the land. Then you have home insurance, which is getting more expensive every year due to climate risks and inflation. Let's say $150 a month, gone. Then you have maintenance. And this is where the delusion really sets in. New homeowners think maintenance means buying a light bulb. The rule of thumb is that you will spend 1% of the home's value on repairs annually over the long run. Roofs leak, water heaters explode, driveways crack, termites eat the framing. Foundations shift. HVAC systems die in the middle of summer. That's $4,000 a year, or $333 a month, gone. And don't forget closing costs, HOA fees, pest control, landscaping, and higher utilities, because heating a whole house costs significantly more than heating an apartment surrounded by other units. So, let's add it all up. Your $2,100 mortgage plus taxes, plus insurance, plus maintenance. Your real monthly cost to keep that roof over your head is over $3,000. But wait, it gets darker. Look at that mortgage payment again. In the first year of a 30-year loan, do you know how much of your payment actually goes to equity, to paying down the debt? About $250. The other $1,875 is pure interest paid to the bank. It is rent on the money. So, out of your total monthly cash outflow of over $3,000, only $250 is building wealth. The other $2,800 is thrown into the incinerator. You are paying nearly $3,000 a month in rent to the bank, the government, and the insurance company to live in a house you supposedly own. Meanwhile, the renter down the street is paying $2,000 flat. No repairs, no taxes, no risk. The homeowner is bleeding an extra $1,000 every single month just to say he owns the place. He is paying a massive premium for an illusion of control. But nobody tells you this because the entire economy is built on convincing you to buy. Banks make fortunes on 30-year mortgages. They front-load the interest so they get paid first, while you get the equity last. It takes nearly 20 years of payments before you are paying more principal than interest. Real estate agents make 6% commissions, whether you make money or lose money on the sale. The government wants you to own because homeowners are stable. They don't riot, they don't move, and they are easy to tax. Everyone profits when you buy a house except you. Now, let's look at the opportunity cost. This is where the renter becomes a millionaire, and the homeowner stays middle class forever. This is the part that truly separates the wealthy from the average. Let's say the renter takes that difference, that $1,000 a month he isn't spending on a new roof, property taxes, or mortgage interest, and he invests it. He also takes that $80,000 down payment he didn't bury in the house and invests that too. $1,000 a month into a boring S&P 500 index fund with a 10% average annual return. He automates it. He never touches it. In 30 years, the homeowner has a paid-off house. Let's say it appreciated to $900,000. Not bad, right? But he paid $480,000 in interest to the bank to get it. He paid $150,000 in taxes. He paid $120,000 in repairs. His net profit is maybe $150,000 after 3 decades of stress and bills. He has a house, sure, but he has very little else. He is house rich and cash poor. The renter? That $80,000 initial investment plus the $1,000 a month compounded for 30 years grows to nearly $3 million. Liquid. Accessible. Cash. The renter is 20 times wealthier than the homeowner from the same income just by making a different choice. He didn't buy the granite countertops. He bought his freedom. He bought the ability to retire 10 years earlier. He bought the ability to live off dividends. He bought the ability to never set an alarm clock again. And we haven't even talked about the biggest trap of all, The liquidity trap. Equity is useless. I will say it again. Home equity is effectively useless money until you die or sell. You have $200,000 in equity? Cool. Can you buy groceries with it? Can you invest it in a business? Can you use it to travel? No, it is trapped in the drywall. It is frozen in the foundation. To access that money, you either have to sell the house and pay 6 to 8% in fees to agents and closing costs, or you have to borrow it via a home equity line of credit and go back into debt. Imagine you have a medical emergency. You need $50,000 for surgery. The homeowner has a net worth of $500,000, but it's all in the house. He can't sell the bathroom to pay the doctor. He is insolvent despite being rich on paper. The renter has $3 million in stocks. He can sell $50,000 tomorrow with the click of a button on his phone. He pays the bill. He is free. The homeowner is panicked, trying to get a loan approval while lying in a hospital bed. Now, let's talk about freedom, because the ultimate wealth is not money. It is options. When you buy a house, you anchor yourself to one geographical point. You are betting your entire financial future on one neighborhood, one local economy, one job market. You are putting all your eggs in one basket, and you can't even move the basket. Imagine you get a job offer tomorrow. It's your dream job, double the salary. But it's in Denver, and you live in Dallas. The renter gives 30 days' notice. He cleans the apartment. He hands over the keys. He packs 2 suitcases. He moves. He triples his income. His life changes overnight. He adapts to the market. He flows like water to where the opportunity is. The homeowner, panic. He has to sell the house. But maybe the market is down. Maybe interest rates spiked and buyers have vanished. Maybe the major factory in town closed and property values tanked. He would lose $30,000 if he sells now. Or maybe it takes 6 months to sell and he can't carry 2 mortgages. He does the math. It's too hard. It's too risky. So he turns down the job. He stays in the lower-paying job. He stagnates. The house didn't build his wealth. It destroyed his career growth. This happens every day. People turn down life-changing opportunities because they are shackled to a 3,000-square-foot box of wood and stucco. They prioritize the pile of bricks over their own life. I know what you're thinking. I can hear the comments already. But Max, my parents bought a house in 1990 for $100,000 and sold it for $500. Real estate always goes up. Yes, they lived in a golden era of falling interest rates and a massive population boom. They rode a 30-year wave of declining rates that made housing more affordable every year, driving up prices. You do not live in that era. You live in an era of high rates, high taxes, and stagnant wages. Past performance is not indicative of future results. You cannot simply assume that real estate will always go up faster than inflation, especially when you factor in the massive holding costs. If a house appreciates 3% a year, but costs 4% a year to hold, taxes, maintenance, interest, you are losing money in real terms. You are slowly bleeding to death while thinking you are getting strong. And let's address the rent goes up argument. Yes, rent goes up, but so do property taxes, so does insurance, so does the cost of lumber and labor for repairs. The homeowner is not immune to inflation. He just pays it to different people. When your water heater breaks, that is inflation hitting you directly in the wallet. When your county reassesses your property value, that is inflation hitting you in the taxes. You never truly lock in your housing cost because the ancillary costs of ownership never stop rising. And remember, if you invest the difference, your investment returns should outpace rent increases over the long term. There is also the psychological toll. Homeownership is stressful. It is a second job. Your weekends are no longer yours. Your weekends belong to Home Depot. Your weekends belong to mowing the lawn, cleaning the gutters, fixing the fence, painting the trim. You become a janitor for your own asset. The renter calls the landlord when the toilet breaks. The landlord fixes it. The renter goes to the park. The renter reads a book. The renter starts a side business. The homeowner is on his knees in the bathroom, watching a YouTube tutorial on plumbing, stressed out of his mind. So, what is the solution? How do you actually win this game without falling into the trap? You become a renter by choice. You rent the cheapest, safest place you can tolerate. You keep your housing costs below 25% of your income. And then, and this is the critical part, you invest the difference. If you rent but spend the savings on DoorDash, new cars, and expensive clothes, you will lose. You will end up with nothing. The strategy only works if you are an investor. You have to have the discipline to take that extra $1,000 a month and put it into the market. But if you do that, if you have the discipline to rent and stack cash, you will win. You will have millions in liquid assets. You will have the freedom to move anywhere. You will not stress when the water heater breaks because it's not your water heater. You will not panic when the property tax bill comes because it's not your bill. You will be agile in a rigid world. You will be liquid in a frozen world. Let your coworker brag about his house. Let him enjoy his granite countertops and his investment. Let him talk about equity while he complains about how expensive it is to fix his AC unit. Let him be trapped. You just smile, check your brokerage account, and watch the compound interest do its work. Because while he is mowing his lawn on Saturday morning, worrying about his roof, spending his weekends at Home Depot fixing things that broke, you'll be on a plane to somewhere new. That is the real American dream. It's not a house, it's freedom.